All right, welcome back to Talk Recovery, Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. We are in studio live today with a couple special guests. We have one of the former Real Housewives of Vancouver, Ronnie Stevenson, and her son, Houston.
Hi.
In studio today. Welcome, guys.
I'm excited to be here.
Welcome. Hello. How are you? They're quiet. They're the quiet type. Hey,
Thanks for having us. Oh my God, I'm just like totally in a zone.
Right? Just preparing for the in-depth interview. Also, welcome Facebook Live viewers, our avid Facebook fans coming into the studio with us today to enjoy the show. Okay, so this is awesome. We got the mom and son combination, a little bit of what the family went through together through the thick and thin, and now on the other side of it all. So let's just start with you, Ronnie. So you've been sober now for a couple of years. Has this been public for you?
Yeah, I actually decided to go public with my road to recovery and with my battle with alcohol to help other people. So for me, being able to share to help other people was really key. And the show, I think for me, and I don't really want to talk about the show, but if anything really great came about being on The Real Housewives, it was the fact that the show was aired in 11 different countries, and I'm helping people now in Scotland and Ireland and Norway and London, England, and a lot of people in Canada. And so I've been very public, and people then have DM'd me and said, wow,
yeah,
can you help me?
Right. I think, I mean, it's sort of a blessing in disguise, even if, some of the old way of life was sort of aired in all of these places. That, I mean, it built you some notoriety. Therefore, so many more connections of your story is out there now. And again, completely appreciate you guys coming in and sharing that story. That's what this Talk Recovery is all about. We're trying to reach out and connect those stories and those people and those experiences, to give a little bit of hope, right? Mm-hmm. What was it like for you, in the sense of hope or lack thereof, a few years ago?
I had got to a place where I never thought I had a problem. Whoever really does in the beginning, right? It's progressive, and it really snuck up on me. And I noticed I was drinking more and more, and my hangovers were really severe, and I'm obsessive compulsive. It was like one was never enough, right? So, I actually spoke the other day at an AA meeting at my son's 1-year cake, and I was saying that for me, I just, I'd got to a place where I knew the gig was up, and I wanted to be sober, and who the hell ever thought I'd get a year sober, but now here I am 2 years sober. So it can be done, and I knew I had to do something different, and I decided to change my life. And I think through my sobriety, a really beautiful thing is that that definitely rubbed off on Houston. And I do not think, and I could be wrong, I said this to a friend of mine who's 32 years sober. I said, had I not gotten sober, I don't know if Houston would be sober, because I used to drink with my boys. Mm-hmm. I used to go, hey, let's go have a martini, hey, what are you guys doing? Let's go out. So when you got a mom that's drinking, or a dad, and I was a really young mom, so I would call my boys, and we would go out. So if I were still calling Houston, or I were still drinking, saying let's go have a glass of wine, yeah, he may still be doing that. So he did this on his own, but I'm glad I got sober, because it definitely, I think, has made an impact on my children.
Well, let's ask Houston.
Yeah.
What in your experience, like, what was that influence at the time of your mom getting sober? Like, what was the influence, if any?
Well, she had been sober for a year before me, And at that time, you know, I'm 21 years old, I'm drinking a lot, kind of all my friends are kind of drinking the same, but I was going a little overboard. I had a problem. I didn't really admit it to myself, but I did have a mom I could look to and see that her life was going really well. She was on the ball. Everything was kind of sorting its way out for her. And funnily enough, by the way, my sobriety date is actually a day after hers by chance. I had come back from Dubai because my dad lives over there. It was a very debaucherous trip, and that's actually the reason I got sober after that. I said when I step foot in North America, I'm going to be sober. I'm starting the new year. That was January the 5th. So January the 5th this year makes me 1 year sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I happened to be a day after my mom, and you know, she was very proud of me. And I remember, while I had been drinking, she had said, you know, if you get sober, you can have whatever you want in life because you'll be clear and you'll attract your reality and you'll be in tune with yourself. And I was just too checked out. I was too checked out to be able to see that. And I think Dubai was actually, I was really lucky that I drank a lot while I was there because it was the beginning of the new year. And I kind of said to myself, like, the gig's up. I was super depressed. And I was about to get on a plane. Did I want to get on that plane and land and still be in the same place I was? It was kind of lucky for me to be able to kind of make that transition.
Right.
You know.
Right. So it was already on your mind and you know, thinking about making some change in your life.
A little bit. Like, honestly, to be honest with you, it was really spiritual for me. I had gotten on the plane. It's a 14-hour flight. I'm ADHD. It's an economy. For me, a 14-hour flight is like a 2-day thing. I'm sitting there. And my girlfriend at the time, my ex-girlfriend, had broken up with me. So I didn't want to think about that. So when I got on the plane, this is actually a story. I had stopped by, the flight took off from Seattle. And my grandma, who's in remission of cancer right now, had a bunch of pills. I thought maybe she'll have a sleeping pill. So I stopped by her place before the flight. And I noticed she had all these different painkillers. And I'm thinking, I don't know what to touch. And I saw that she had Oxycontin. And I didn't know how bad Oxycontin was, but I knew it was a painkiller. So I thought maybe that will kind of put me out on the plane.
Which makes it good or bad?
Which makes it good or bad. So I got on the plane. I was with my best friend at the time. Or he still is my best friend. He's sober now too.
Right.
And he had Xanax. So I had taken 4, this is the scary part, I had taken 4 Oxycontin. And my friend, and I didn't feel anything. And I was, you know, I'm so rushing into this. I'm so ADHD. I go, just give me like 3 of those Xanax. So I'd taken 4 Oxycontin, 3 Xanax, and then I drank 8 vodkas from the duty free. This was extremely irresponsible. I was 37,000 feet up in the air. I was checked out. I could have died.
Yeah.
I got off the plane and I went, it's nighttime. My dad's a big drinker. Everybody over there's partying. I go straight to the bar and I start taking shooters. And I get back at the house at like, you know, because my dad lives there. I get back at the house at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then that was just a continuous drinking process for the next 2 weeks of just full on drinking. This is where the spiritual part comes in. I got in the shower.
There's a spiritual part.
I got in the shower. I was super depressed, kept thinking about my ex. Life was really depressing. And I just remember my mom telling me, if you want something in life, you have to get sober. You can have anything you want. Just start praying to God.
Yeah.
And I said, Dear Lord, just grant me the sobriety so that I have the strength. I got on the plane a year and about a week ago, cold turkey cut off, and my life has just escalated. I'm more open and in tune with my feelings now. I'm really grateful. Reality has just been so amazing, and I'm so happy to take it on with this clarity. It's a beautiful thing.
You know that story, there's going to be a lot of listeners, you know, especially me, like that story of the flight makes perfect sense. You know what I mean? Like just trying to get through and just numb out and not have any clue what you're doing, you know, but just give me some more and help me get through this.
I woke up actually halfway and I was floating out of my body, and I had a glass of red wine to go back to sleep. That's how irresponsible I was at the time. I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have a conscience that was telling me you could die.
Yeah.
You know, I just went full out with it, and it disturbs me to even think back that I could do something to myself like that. But
and to know what would have gone beyond that had mom not, you know, put that little statement of having whatever you want in life, you know, with sobriety wasn't sort of in there, you know. So it's sometimes it's great to know or to not know the what ifs, you know, and just appreciate where we are right now. So there it is, Mom. You know, there's that role of influence, right? So that would have been a year clean for you, or clean or sober, that where you said that?
My issues were always with alcohol. I didn't have drug-related issues, but I got that one part about you can have anything you want if you get sober in a meeting.
Right.
I remember when I was just getting sober and I went to a meeting and this lady stood up there and she said, you know, you can have anything you want if you get sober. And I thought, I like that. Anything? Okay. That stuck with me. And there was another, you know, in meetings, I don't go to meetings all that often. I maybe go to one every 3 or 4 months, but I like to check in.
Mm-hmm.
I like those people. They get me. I get them. I feel a real sense of acceptance in those rooms and love, and they're my people. But another thing I got, I was went to a meeting in London, England. So I like to go to meetings when I travel. I find it interesting, different types of people, and you know, checking into a different meeting once in a while is kind of cool. But one guy stood up there and he said, you know, I couldn't take it anymore, but more importantly, my soul couldn't take it. And I thought, you know, that really resonated with me because my soul couldn't take it either. And my last drink, I fell off of a friend's bar stool, straight back onto my head on a marble granite floor, whatever, knocked myself out, blacked out. I was actually, once in a while I would black out when I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up I had a horrible concussion, really bad concussion. I remember picking my guts out in a great big popcorn bowl on my bed and calling a sponsor, and I said, hey, I think I'm going to die. Like, I think I'm going to die. I felt like my pulse was really weak. I just, you know, I wasn't doing well. Like that, a big tequila scar on my right arm. I had a concussion. I almost took my right eye out by falling into the corner of my bed, which was just a minuscule amount of weight taking out my eye. I broke my forehead in Paris, like literally broke the bones from falling into a bathroom door. That was way too much champagne that night. And I kept always thinking, you know what? I don't want to live like this anymore. And alcoholism runs in my family. We're a long line of Scandinavian drinkers, and I was doing from the get-go. So, there you go, Houston. I passed the torch on to my kids, unfortunately, but now I passed a torch of sobriety on. And I think that, you know, the fact that 2 of us are sober and in the same family, it's really great. Houston being 22 is just huge. I wish I would have got it a lot sooner.
Honestly, I'm an actor, and it's one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive industries in the world besides sports, and you know, being a famous pop star. But I was drinking. I will admit I was an alcoholic, and I wasn't getting any work, and I was just, you know, I had to make a change. I had to do something, because if it meant I was even that much better, it meant I was that much closer. Like, why wouldn't I do something? If this is my heart, my passion, I have to do something. And getting sober was a big part of that. It helped me a lot.
I checked out your acting online, just on your own Facebook page.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you'd shared a little illegal clip of.
Oh, like I recorded it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then put it on your own personal Facebook, which I don't think is totally illegal. But anyhow, and I checked it out.
She just got you fired, bud.
So anyway, so you definitely have that like it factor, right? Like I can see that, you know, you're blonde, blue-eyed, like that sort of thing, right? So I mean, you know, you're going to do well. But at the same time, it's in this industry that's sort of like fake and marketing and publicity and all that kind of stuff. And do you feel like you still fit into that thing? I saw this one picture of you where there was like these girls and they had barely any clothes on, quite frankly, and you just look bored.
Oh my God, it's so true. Like, I used to live to party. I used to hot girlfriend. For me now, like, I'm in a solidarity. I'm kind of hermetically sealed from the world. I don't have a problem going to the club. Like, if I see alcohol around, for me, it might as well be bleach or laundry detergent, you know. It doesn't feel right to me anymore. Everyone's kind of, they're on a different frequency, and you know, I've taught myself how to dance again. I know how to have fun, and that's great. But I'd rather, you know, be with a good group of people in Tibet or Nepal and go meditate. Like, I'm just on a different frequency now. And
do you study sort of like actors that you admire and like how they live their lives? Like when I think of actors that I really admire, it's like they're focused on the work, like they're not the ones that are partying. So do you feel like your sobriety adds to your like career options and that sort of thing?
Within the first month of my sobriety, my life, I had landed 2 films, and that had never happened in my life. Like before, I was getting small TV parts like on Arrow and iZombie, but it was just my aura, my frequency, my connection with God, like my higher power just came to me. I started getting role after role, and then, you know, Disney films, and then I'm, you know, now I'm a series regular on a Netflix original for Disney, and I just, you know, I'm so grateful, because I honestly, I don't believe that would have come into my life had I not gotten sober. And I kind of made a promise, I think, to God, my higher power. I said, you know, if I get sober, will you guide me to where my passion is, my heart is? And funnily enough, so be it. It started happening. It was almost like I attracted it into my reality.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there's a lot of actors like Robert Downey Jr. and Colin Farrell. There's so many people in Hollywood now who are actually talking about how their sobriety has significantly helped them.
And it's about time, I think.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
that people that, like I said, that have this notoriety, that have this, you know, this viewership, like how much their personal story actually has the effect
An impact on
people.
people.
Huge.
Yeah, of course.
Huge.
Of course.
Do you feel like you have access to more of your feelings? And I imagine, like, at first year of sobriety, this is just the beginning, right? Like, that's the big thing about the first year, is it's like everything's sort of new. There's the pink cloud. Like, things can sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, right? So it's like, do you feel like you have access to more, like a more real part of yourself when you're acting, when you're trying to get in touch with what you want to express?
Yeah, I just honestly, being sober so far, I'm in tune with who I am. I feel for other people. Before, the world was really revolved around me, and now I really feel for other people. Like I see someone on the side of the street, and I want to go out of my way to help them now. Like I see garbage on the road, and I want to go pick it up just for the feeling of feeling good. I never did that stuff before, and it was weird how I didn't make the choice to start doing it. It just kind of crept into my life. Like it was a part of me that just came out, and it just feels really good to feel good, and it feels good to give back. And I don't know if it's sobriety. I don't know if there was a part of me that was numb for a long time, but I feel like I'm a lot more in depth, and I'm starting to connect with the world around me, and it's been a beautiful process.
I want to ask you a question, and I hope you won't be offended.
No problem.
But
I'm open here, no problem.
okay. But like, is it hard to do that when you've grown up, like, with money?
You know what? A lot of people think that when you're born with money, you have it all. My parents basically gave me nothing. I ended up working on the oil sands out in Fort McMurray in like negative 40-degree weather, like a couple of years ago. I got fired, by the way, because I was drinking on the job after like 3 months.
Exactly true.
What's the true story?
The true story is
Nothing,
that-
a little something.
Okay, this is, yeah, I always wanted my kids to have to work, but honey, let's face it, I mean, you've traveled around the world, you've kind of had a pretty good life, you live in a waterfront mansion, yeah.
But I'm very grateful.
I'm glad
And
you're
that's
grateful,
true.
but I
Extremely
just want to
grateful.
keep it real. He has been very privileged, but we did make him go work on the oil sounds, and we made him know what hard work was. And I wanted my boys, and I still to this day, if you want it, you got to work hard. I'm trying to instill really good work ethic into my children, and I think that when you do come from a privileged background, it's especially hard for a parent, because to give your children everything is really only hurting them. So sometimes I might seem like the big bad wolf, but I'm really trying to help.
Yeah, I remember saying too, I remember being at someone's house, it was at this potluck thing or whatever, and all these parents, 2-parent families that were, you know, talking about gratitude with their children, and they were in a completely different income bracket than me. And they were like, how do you teach your children gratitude? And, you know, blah, 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 all these things. I'm like, poverty works really well.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But it can be hard to teach with a lot of things. And I wanted to ask you that as well. Like, how it seems like so many people get sober when they run out of money, or they're going to lose their job, or, do you know what I mean? They're going to lose their family. Like, you know, like those are kind of more the people maybe that I see more often. And so I'm curious, like, was it your spirituality and your soul that really inspired you to want to get sober?
Sobriety is so different for so many people, and I know that when you're on the verge of losing, your 10th job, or you can't pay your rent, and those are such huge motivational factors. But on the flip side, I forgive me if this comes out wrong, but I had too much money at a point in my life, and nannies and housekeepers, and I had an assistant. You know what? It's a disaster. It's a recipe. What do they say? An idle mind is a devil's workshop. I didn't have to do anything, so what did I do? Drank. I drank because I didn't have purpose. And I went out and I drank, and I was kind of numbing myself. I was also in a really bad marriage, okay? I'm not going to lie. I was in a bad marriage. One of my daughters, hi Remy, I love you so much. My 15-year-old's listening.
Love you, little Remy.
So, just a lot of hard knocks in my life. And one thing about alcohol, and I want to say this, and I said it in an AA meeting just the other night, was that alcoholism can affect anybody. It doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have in the bank. It doesn't matter what your skin color is, your religious or ethnic background. It does not diversify. And so, money or not, alcohol is a really debilitating, crippling disease. I am so grateful for my sobriety. It is the biggest gift I have ever given myself and my children.
I'm proud of you too, Mom. You really come far.
Thank you. So have you, Houston. So, if there's anybody out there that's struggling, all I can tell you is this. I never thought I'd get a year. I really just thought, we're the people that get a year, weirdos. What are they?
I thought I was going to drink a glass of wine after the year and then restart.
Celebrate.
No wish to. I don't want to. I feel too good,
Yeah. Well, you make these little arrangements, in order to sort of, create the sobriety, in your life. It's like, okay, if I just get a year, then I'll switch to wine, or I'll use this instead.
What was your drink of choice?
Crown Royal, Budweiser, crack cocaine, heroin.
Sorry for the trigger warning.
It was like whatever at the time could numb me out and allow me to cope with the pains and the stresses and the insecurities, as that developed, right? And as we can all discuss here today, it's like, and as you stay longer in those addictions and using those means, we develop, more insecurity and more shame and more hopelessness, and just back to that privilege thing. It's like this, we now know that addiction in whatever form, whatever pill, whatever drink that it comes in, it's all walks of life now, right? And I think that maybe in growing up with privilege, it allows people to sort of hide it and manage it and keep everything sort of on the surface level, like looking good, which you're still talking about a person who's just hurt and in pain and feels like they can't reach out, right? Where it's like you walk by some homeless guy on the street with a bottle next to him, it's obvious he needs help. Right, and I think that it's powerful when people such as yourselves come in and just can share honestly, and it's to not think that you guys are getting clean and sober in a different way, and you got more options and more opportunities. It's like
if you listen to this and there's something that you can connect to, and maybe you can look at your life and see maybe there's ways that you want to change. I'm just a person who happened to have a drinking problem, and I got sober, and life is beautiful, and I see life in a different way. I grew up in a privileged family, and I'm very grateful for the things I have. I could have been born in Africa. I could have been born in poverty. I just so happened to be born into wealth, and you can hate me for that, or you can see me as a human being.
I wasn't born into wealth. Normal American apple pie family. I have a message, though, if that's okay,
Absolutely.
to anybody who's out there listening, and I think this is the most important thing I'll say today. To anybody who's tuned in or who's tuned into Facebook right now, which is live streaming, I guess, if you want to get sober or if you want to get clean and sober, you can have it. I always tell people, the first thing they say to me is, how do you do it? And I can't help anybody unless they want it. So if you want to get sober, or if you want to get clean and sober, as much as you want to live, as much as you want to breathe, you can have it, but you gotta want it. And when you want it, choice. End of story. You just gotta want it. You can't kind of want it.
Yeah.
Can't want to moderate or cut back or switch to wine or only drink on weekends or only after 5 p.m. You gotta want it as much as you wanted it.
Yeah.
End of story. And when you want it that bad, you got it. So
Well
there
said.
you go.
Do you find a happiness now, you know, in your life? Like, do you find, because you said that you were drinking to mask the pain. Do you find now in your sobriety that you're more in tune with your emotions and happier with your clarity? Like, do you find that you're finding more joy from the smaller things in life?
Switching the tables
Well,
here.
you know what?
I was just thinking, she started into
It's great. It's great because, you know, when I first got clean and sober, right, it was like this, what you're describing, like this whole new, you know, seemingly these gifts kept, you know, piling up, like things I'd never seen before, which kind of seems obvious, you know, that things would start to happen when you're not like wrecking your life, right? But what I find, you know, 11 years in, is that I used to manufacture happiness through whatever I was ingesting, right? And for me, what I realized that was happiness was the illusion or the lack of, or the numbing of pain, right? Like this sort of malaise, content, like just numbed out feeling, right? And what I realized that if you want to be happy, it's like it's over there and you got to earn it. You know, that not every single day comes with like, you know, waking up to sunshine and a bird tweeting on your shoulder. That it's like sometimes I wake up and it's just, it's stress and it's uncomfortable and it's, you know, it's hopelessness and I don't know why it's there. You know what I mean? Sometimes, you know, I drive down here, right, and I see that guy and I see all these people that I can't help. You know, and so sometimes I just feel devastated. You know what I mean? And you know, and it's just like, you know, but then I, you know, talk about this subject, and talk about, you know, what Ronnie's describing. It's like anybody can get it. Like anybody can get it.
I think
And then I
for,
feel happy.
I think for myself, there was a big difference between sobriety and recovery. Like there's a thing where, you know, I stopped drinking, and then there's to me, recovery is like finding what was lost. Like I was sitting in Douglas College the other day, and I just felt like myself. You know, those like little moments where I'm reading a book. It was a book we were talking about earlier, Give and Take. It was about helping others, and I just felt so much like myself, and I was like right where I wanted to be, and all that kind of stuff. And that to me is a process of my recovery, of looking at all the things that were holding me back, all the behaviors, all the different mistakes and people I was attracted to, and blah, 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 blah. And that is a product of my recovery. Do you feel like you just got sober and like put down the drink and then carried on as yourself? Like that was the one thing kind of holding you back, was just the fact that you were drinking, which is common for a lot of people. Like that's the problem. But then the recovery is when you, for me anyways, when you continue to make mistakes sober. Like you continue to make super bad decisions about relationships and money and all that kind of stuff sober, and then you're like, oh my gosh, it's not the alcohol. Like, oh no. Like, do you feel like there's a difference, and is that true for you? Houston, I'll ask you first.
Well, I can definitely say when I was drinking, you know, I thought I had it all. I was with a really beautiful girlfriend, and I was partying at cool clubs, and, you know, I was meeting interesting people, but I can tell you I wasn't actually really happy in the inside. As a matter of fact, I was a pretty depressed person before. And then within this past year, and I know it's only been a year, and I'm kind of blobbing how great my life is, but it's just like, the life challenges felt good because I knew that I was there and clear to take them on. And that's what life's all about, is being knocked down and learning from your mistakes. So, you know, when I see life coming at me, I embrace the fact that I'm there to take on the challenge. And no, it's just been a beautiful...
I guess what I'm asking is, like,
Yeah.
do you do the steps? Do you do, like, inner work? Do you reflect on your behaviors? Like, do you do an inventory at the end of the day? Like, what does your recovery or spiritual practice look like? Do you go to church or meetings, or...?
I went to AA for the first couple months, but to be honest, I just got cold turkey. Like, I just said to myself, this is it. Like, what if I was in prison and you can't drink anymore? What if the circumstances that alcohol doesn't exist? I just kind of put that in my mind, like, it's done, it's over. And for some weird reason, I don't know if it's like I hypnotized myself, I just don't think about it anymore. I have friends who say, hey, take a shot, or they'll be at the party. And, I'm happy. I've learned to relive again. I know how to dance on the dance floor and have just as good of a time.
Do you have?
I don't think about it.
Do you have like you've mentioned?
Do I have like something I use?
You've mentioned your higher power a couple
Yeah.
times. Like, do you have like a sense of spirituality? Was that there before and after you got sober, or is that just now in recovery that you have a connection with your higher power?
I have always been spiritual and always believed that there has been a higher power in my life. To answer your question, yes, I do actually. I do pray a lot, and I always pray for my sobriety to keep strong and to keep me going. So I think maybe that if there's a higher power out there, which I believe, if that would be the reason for probably keeping me sober. Because I pray, I just say, dear Lord, give me the strength to stay
Would
on
you
this
sort of
path.
like pray if a challenge comes up or you feel challenged or that sort of thing? Like, did you get that from your mom? Has she, like you said, her advice to you was just like pray for God to help you?
Well, I know that Eric Clapton, he just, his son had died. He was a horrible alcoholic. He cut cold turkey, and he got down on his hands and knees, and he began to cry, and he prayed, and he said, God grant me my sobriety. And the same thing happened to me in Dubai. I was drinking vodka from the morning till the night. It was really icky, and I wanted my life to change. I wanted to start acting. That's my passion. It's my heart.
Eric Clapton actually had been in and out of rehab a few times, and on his very last stint in rehab, I read the autobiography. In his very last attempt, he said, I was in, like, it was the third time I'd been in rehab, and I knew I was going to leave, and nothing had changed. Nothing had changed, and I knew I was going to leave and go out and drink again. And he said, and that's when I dropped to my knees and said, hey, like, if there's God, because he didn't know what he was praying to, but he prayed anyway, and then he got sober. But Houston, actually, unbeknownst to you or not, you actually have a live-in sober coach. And
Yeah, I gotta give my credit to my mom, because she's sober a year before me. She's sitting right across from me.
just so you
She
know,
really does keep
we
me
don't.
going. Yeah.
I mean, praying is a fabulous, wonderful thing. But I actually have one of my best friends is 32 years sober, and I said, Tim, I don't go to meetings every week, and I don't go to 5 a week, and I check in, every few months because I like to. But he said, but we basically have our own AA meeting when we talk on the phone. I talk about sobriety all the time. I like talking about it. I like telling people about my shit and where I've come from and where I'm now. And Houston, you and I talk about it so much that it's like we keep each other going. So
We do. And I
Yeah.
told you know what, I really respect AA and I love AA. I think the fact
Love
that
it.
people can come together and openly talk about themselves and not have to be afraid and share an energy of strength and truth is a beautiful thing. My circumstance, I just so happened to block it out of my life, and I just don't think about it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that to
I get
anybody
that.
else, but it just happened.
Why does it even need to be, like this thing that people do? Like it has to be an AA meeting, or it has to be, you know what I mean?
Like, I said to him, I don't need to, like, I love AA, I think it's great, I have friends in AA. I just said to myself, I don't really need to switch something for something else in my life. I just cut it, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I still go there. I still go sometimes to hear people and learn and hear people's stories. And I like collecting, the chips because they're good luck for me. But no, it's.
I
it's great.
agree that if you have people in your life to talk to, I think when people are alone in their addiction and then they try to be alone in their recovery or just stop and they don't have those connections or those other people around them that are a little further down the path. I wanted to ask you too, Houston, have you seen changes in your mom since
Oh my God,
since
yeah.
she's been able to achieve continuous sobriety?
Well, the house is spotless. Like I can't. The second, like, there's like a.
Wait, is that because of the nanny?
No.
No, she's like
I
she's.
have OCD, but I call it OCA, obsessive compulsive advantage, because I've always been a neat freak. Like it's almost too much. But, I don't know about the house, but my older son, his older brother Jordan, who's 29, I always ask him because Jordan still drinks. I said, Jordan, do I seem different to you? And he goes, oh my God, yeah. He goes, I had a lot of fun when you were drinking. Let's not lie, we had a good time. He said, but I way prefer you sober. And he said, you're a totally different person. I am a completely different person. There's a quote I love, and it says, don't expect from me what was embodied in the past, for that part of me no longer exists. And I don't feel like, I can even watch that Real Housewives show and I don't really like that person. I can remember parts of me that weren't on the show, you know, in the last 10, 15 years or whatever. I like who I am now. Sobriety has changed me immensely. Absolutely.
Well, everybody, what an amazing interview. Ronnie, Holly Stevenson, her son Houston showed up today to talk recovery with us. Thank you guys so much for coming down.
Yeah, you bet.
You know, anybody out there struggling, anybody out there that is in love with someone struggling, you know, just having a difficult time, I think it's clear. Anybody could and has it in them, the resiliency to get through anything life has on you right now. And the only thing that makes it different sometimes is that when we sit as an individual and think that I'm the only one that's going through this problem. And sometimes
Power of the mind's power now.
sometimes you just got to go to work. You got to carry that stress. You got to carry that burden. No one on the face of this earth is going to be able to fix the problem that you have today. And you guys are a great example of that resiliency that comes from within, that, you know, wherever you acquire it from. And again, thanks so much for coming down and sharing you guys' story.
And I may not be able to fix the problem, but I can guide you. And I'd like to say that if anybody would like to contact me, you can find me on Instagram, Houston Stevenson. Message me. I'm more than happy to talk to you and guide you through. I would like to help people, and I think that's a part of my journey now in my sober life.
That's awesome, dude. Right on. Talk Recovery on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And thanks for listening to everybody out there in Radio Land. And we're going to leave with a little Barney Bentall, Canadian chap, legendary hearts living in the 90s.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks for the interview.